If you own property or you're about to purchase property that needs to be cleared for a home site or for some other purpose, then this video is for you, because I'm going to take you on site to a piece of property and walk around and show you some of the challenges and obstacles faced when trying to take on this type of project, whether you want to do it yourself or hire a company like mine to come in and do the work for you. It's not always as simple as just coming in with one machine and knocking everything out in an afternoon. There's a lot more things that you have to take into consideration. A lot of things that people tend to forget about or don't even realize are a factor in clearing property. So in this video, when I'm walking around on the property, I'm going to point out some things about trees, vegetation, and debris that's found on the property. And I'm also going to discuss some of the obstacles that you'll encounter or a company will encounter when trying to access the property and remove everything you want removed to open up a space for a house or a garage or a commercial building or whatever other use you may find for the property. We're looking at a lot for one of my customers that it's a little over 1.8 acres in total, but they only want to clear just slightly more than a half an acre of this lot. This customer buys residential properties and develops them, clears it out, puts a home on it, and then sells it. And looking at these woods, it probably looks like I'm out in the middle of nowhere, but actually in a pretty developed residential area, and this is one of the last lots around here that has not been cleared and had a house put on it. So this customer contacted me and said, can you come out and give us a price on clearing this site? And sent me all the plats and diagrams of what areas the owner wants it cleared. And I said, yeah, let me run out here and take a look at this. So I'm going to kind of walk around a little bit where you can see what I'm dealing with here. Now this is kind of a narrow strip of property, but it goes really deep back from the paved street. And of course now an airplane's going to fly over right in the middle of this. But anyway, this goes deep into the wood line from the paved road that this property is fronted on, and not going to go far in there or as far as from the paved road. I got a 50-foot setback from the paved street, and then going to clear out an area where the septic system will go, the yard, and then the site for the house. And I don't know if they've ever been out here and looked at this property in person, because I think they're finding properties and buying them if they can get the right deal on it. But this property appears to have never been touched, at least in a very long time, probably longer than my lifetime. And you can see, try and catch some of these trees. The sun's kind of messing with me a little bit, but some of these trees in here are very tall and very large diameter. And most of what you're seeing right now has got to be removed. All the small stuff, there's a few dead trees in here. The ground is covered with probably decades of pine straw, leaves, dead brush, and then I have found some debris, which is common near a road frontage. Bottles, cans, tires, other miscellaneous junk that people like to throw out when they're driving down the road. But anyway, back to the point of this is a project that if you own property that you're considering developing or clearing out and putting a home in, or if you already own land and you want to do something with it, whether it be put a home, a workshop, garage, maybe you already have a home on a piece of property, but a large portion of it's still wooded. And if it is, and you need to clear it out to build something or create open space for storing vehicles or other recreational uses, getting a lot like this cleared is not going to be easy, and it's not cheap. When you look at all of these large trees The common misconception is that I could cut these trees up and sell them, but that's not reality anymore. I've been doing this for quite a few years now, and I have yet to come across anybody that wants to buy damaged or crooked trees. And let me see if I can get this one in there. I don't know if you can see it. Look at that tree, how much of a curve it has in it. There, that tree really has nothing straight on it. I mean, from the ground to the top, it's got multiple curves in it. It forks up at the top. There's another one here. Let me start at the ground. I want to show you this. It's kind of back, this one. So follow that up. Look at the curve in that tree. And almost every tree in here is just like that. There's only a couple that might be straight. I got another one here, and this thing is an extremely large pine tree. This tree here. Let's go up. Try and get in a position where you can get a little bit clearer view. But this tree is not straight at all. There may be a few feet of it that's straight, but most of it has curves in it. So, and these are soft pines. The wood is soft. It's not very sturdy. They're natural growth, and a lot of companies that do buy trees to mill it to lumber don't like stuff like this. They won't even touch it. They won't entertain buying it from you. Most of them won't even take it from you for free to help you get it off your hands. And I'm going to do another video discussing when you do land clearing, whether or not selling the trees is even an option. And I've got another area that I'm going to go to, another location that I'm going to film a video and discuss that very thing, harvesting trees. But to get back to the point of this lot, there's really nothing in here that's of any value to anybody. There's nobody in this area that's going to buy this stuff or even take it off my hands if I bring it to them. There's another tree back there that's got a major bend in it. Let me see if I can get that in here. There it is. So if you see right here, look at the bend in that tree as it goes that way. That tree is useless. And the pulp mills, 2 of the major pulp mills in our region have completely shut down operation, laid off all the employees, and they no longer are processing trees for pulpwood. I'll do a whole nother video when I talk about trees and selling trees and harvesting them for profit. Get a little better detail on that. But on a project like this, even though there's a lot of trees, there's almost nothing in here that anybody would ever be interested in buying. I mean, I'm literally looking around, and I know you can't see what I'm looking at, but I can't find a tree in here that is straight at all. Every one of them has got some kind of bend, curve, they're damaged. There's some of them are dead, or they are dying. Pieces of the tree are starting to decay and fall off. So on a project like this, the only option I have is to come in here and I would come in here with an excavator, and I'm going to push down, pull up everything in the ground. And part of why I'm saying that, now all this brush could be brush mowed, but really there's so many trees in here, I wouldn't be able to maneuver to do any brush mowing. It would be a complete waste of time. You got stuff like this big tree on the ground. There's another one. They're everywhere. There are dead trees on the ground everywhere in this lot. A lot of vines. See, this is a vine. You can see how long it's been here, that it's growing out of the ground. Look at the size of this thing. And just climbs up a tree. And get closer. I'm going to show you. Look at, I can't even wrap my hand around this vine. So think about that. That's how big my hand is, and I can't get my hand all the way around that. That's how long it's been since anybody has done anything on this property. And you have some large hardwoods, but again, there's only a portion of this tree that might be worth doing anything with. if there was a sawmill in the area that would want this tree. But I can see damage up there. The vines, the limbs are dead and falling off. I mean, literally nothing in here has value. So taking these trees down, taking the time to limb them and section them up into the proper lengths, getting a truck and trailer over here to load, and then take it to a sawmill or a pulpwood mill and try to sell this is pointless. That would cost more to harvest this for resale than I would make off of it. And it's not just me, it's everybody in my area. I mean, most everybody in my area refuses to even attempt it because they know that the cost of doing it far exceeds any price you would sell this stuff for. Now, I'm getting close to what I designated as the 50-foot mark. There's a 50-foot buffer zone from the paved road into the area that will be cleared, and turn this way. I don't know if you can see it, but my truck's over there across the street in a church parking lot in the background. So facing that way is the paved road, and would be coming in 50 feet and then clearing half an acre. It's not exactly a square. It's definitely not a square. It's more of a rectangle, but it also has an offset area in the front corner that you can't see in this video where the septic system will go. And when you look at the small amount, I mean, it's a lot of work, but the small amount of trees that are going to be harvested in here, you take away the ones that are no good, that anybody would want to buy, there's almost nothing left. And my cost to harvest and take this somewhere is beyond anything that somebody would pay. So all this brush would come out. I grub everything that's small, the brush, the little saplings, small trees, and then everything else is just going to have to be pushed down, pulled up out of the ground. And once the area is cleared, pile everything up and burn it is the only option. Disposal of this stuff would be astronomical. And I'll probably discuss more in detail why I'm saying that on the video where I discuss selling trees on land clearing projects. But disposal of this stuff is very expensive. You have the cost of getting it from the land clearing project to a landfill that will accept it. And they all charge by the ton or by the pound. Some have a minimum tonnage or minimum pounds that you have to have before they'll let you in, or you pay that minimum tonnage fee, even if it's nowhere close to that amount of weight. These are things that you have to consider when you're putting an estimate together on a job like this. Now, there's people in my area that would never come out here. They would never look at it in person. They would never step foot on this property. They would just throw a generic number out to the customer. And sometimes they're accurate and sometimes they're not. But if you're a homeowner, property owner, somebody in the market to buy land to clear and put a house or something else on, whether you're doing it for personal use, commercial use, or you're going to do it to flip the land or put a house on it and then sell it, like the developers and home builders in my area do, you have to take into account all of the work it's going to take to clear this out. And there's nothing cheap about it. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that will do work like this and quote a really low price and end up regretting that. And sometimes they walk off the job and tell the customer, this is more than what I expected. You either have to pay me more or I'm leaving. And a lot of times I hear a lot of stories just in my region of people doing that. They get into this line of work thinking if they come in with a particular piece of equipment, they're going to clear this property quickly, make some good money, and move on to the next. And they think that by doing it cheaper than all the other companies in the area, they're going to be loaded with work and make a killing. And that's not the case. They're going to go broke, bankrupt, and end up giving up on trying to run a business, and they're going to do something else for a living. This is not the easiest way to make a living, and it's an expensive way to make a living because the overhead is very high. But you can see I'm looking for a couple of the marker trees that I identified for my 50-foot zone. I'm right about where they are. Actually, that's wrong. I'm going to stand on this dead tree if it doesn't collapse. And it's kind of soft. All right, so right there is a tree that is at the 50-foot line. And you can see in the background there's a church over there, and then my truck is sitting in that church parking area. I don't want to stay too long in case somebody comes along and tells me I got to move, because there's nowhere else to park over here. This is another thing you got to think about on these projects. Whether you try to tackle this yourself or hire someone, there are some serious obstacles here. There is literally nowhere for me to park my truck and trailer. There is nowhere for me to put any equipment or anything. If I bring an excavator in here big enough to do this job and do it quickly, and when I say quick, I mean an efficient manner, the excavator's coming in here on an 18-wheeler, and they're gonna literally stop out in the street and unload. And when I walk out to the road, I'm gonna show you the ditch in front of this property. So there's a large culvert that's gotta be installed in the ditch to be able to get any piece of equipment in here. And reason being is, I'll walk down the street in a minute and show you, but off to this side there is a deep ditch that runs right down the property line. The other property line that we would have to be mindful of is back over here, and there's no access from that side, and just beyond the property line is a row of houses over there. There's a side road over there, and there's some houses. And you can't come through somebody's yard, plus they all have fences. Even if they said, yeah, you can, I can't, because there's fences over there. So there's literally no way in. Got to put a culvert in to get the equipment in, and then you got to clear a path from the street in to the working area and then start working. So that would be based on where my customer wants the driveway to enter this property. These properties get one driveway, one culvert. Everything that I've gone out and looked at with them, every one of them's got a ditch in front of the property, and you can't get into the property without putting a culvert in first. So things to be mindful of when you're wanting a project like this done by someone or yourself. When you're trying to get prices from companies to come and do work like this for you, you have to take into consideration all of the obstacles and barriers that the company has to overcome to get in here and do the work. Look at this stump here that's left from that tree that fell. Lots of dead trees in here, and there's some areas that are just so thick, and I've already walked all over this area. I've identified the property lines, and some areas in there is too thick. I'm getting eat up by mosquitoes right now, and trying to film, there's some thick briars and vines and stuff in there that it's not practical for me to try to come in there and film and walk through it. It just isn't going to work. So I picked a little bit more open areas to walk around and show you and talk about this. But I'm coming over to kind of towards one of the front corners, and this is the area where the septic system's going. Matter of fact, when I get over here, you'll see this ditch. This is the property line. And also, with this warmer weather, I'm looking for snakes too as I'm walking through here. But if you see, well, not the holly tree, but there's a ditch that literally runs all the way down the side of this property. And I forget the footage on it from front to back, but whatever that distance is, that's how long that ditch is. So one thing about that is that gives me an easy to see and identify property boundary. So in this area where I'm standing, all of this will get cleared. Turn you around where you can see everything. Apologize for the sun in the camera, but kind of a 360-degree view of where we're at. All right, so we can see the ditch. There's the paved street, the church, and then we go back that way. But right in here where I am is an area that's going to get cleared. The septic system will go in here, and then the house is going to be back over this way. So all total, we're looking at about, I think it was 0.56 acres that's going to be cleared in here. And the brush, honestly, is not bad on this lot compared to a lot of the projects that I do, a lot of the properties that I go on. It's kind of surprising, to be honest with you, that there's as little brush in here as there is. Most of this stuff is, most of it, what's got to come out is trees. Brush will be easy. Small trees are easy. But when you look at the size of some of these trees in here, and look at, oh, there's a good one. Let me show you this. If you look at the size of these trees in here, these are not trees you just go up to with any small machine and just push them over. It doesn't work that way. But look at the damage on that tree up here. If you see right there, I don't know if it's from a limb ripping off in a storm, lightning hit it, I don't know. Could be any number of things, but that's the kind of damage that's on trees in here. Let me show you this one here. Look at this right here. This has got so much damage. It makes these trees worthless. Any company that will buy these trees in this area, the few that are left now, they have zero interest in that. These trees are damaged, diseased, too many curves and bends and twists in them. Well, there's a tire. So see, this is the stuff you run into. I mean, there's beer bottles everywhere. There's deer trails all over the place in here. This is, I mean, let's see here. Look at that, the big old glass bottle. They're all over the place in here. Anything that's close enough that people can toss it into the woods, they throw stuff, they either walking down these streets or driving by with more. It's a shame. I can't stand to see this, but it's just something that happens. There's a ball. I mean, there's stuff everywhere in here. And, you know, the problem is you start clearing this, I can come in here, take these trees down, the brush, and anything that goes in the burn pile will get burned up. But what we're going to end up at the end is there's still going to be glass, metal, tires. You can't burn the tires. That's an environmental thing, which I wouldn't do it anyway. But I don't know if you've ever seen tires catch on fire, but it's a horrible scene. The amount of smoke that it puts out will make you sick, makes people sick. I mean, if you've ever seen a warehouse full of tires or tire rubber on fire, the smoke cloud from that can be seen for 10, 20 miles. Look at that tree. See right there. Grows up into a fork. And I mean, and the whole tree is curving and leaning. I mean, there is absolutely no value in any of this lumber or trees. Shouldn't say lumber because it's not going to get converted to lumber. But so, you know, if you throw a price on a job like this, there's a tree that died and broke off about 7-8 feet tall there. When you throw prices on this stuff and you don't come out here and you walk around and look, you're setting yourself up for failure and problems. Property owners, homeowners think that this stuff is not that expensive to get done. And the reality of it is it is very expensive to take on a project like this for the average person. If you don't have experience clearing property, you don't know the techniques, you don't have the right equipment, and you come in here and you try to tackle this on your own, well, one, it's dangerous. You could get injured. You could injure somebody else. You could damage the equipment, destroy it. And if it's not your equipment, you better have some kind of insurance to take care of the damages, because if not, you could be sued. But if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to do this, and you go rent a skid steer, which a skid steer would not do anything in here. It would be pointless to bring one in here. And, a bulldozer's not, the size dozer it would take to push this stuff down, just a rental fee on that would probably be the equivalent to what most companies would charge to do this. Because you're not going to come in here and do this on a Saturday and be done. It just is not going to happen. So, if you work Monday through Friday and you think, well, I'll go over there on Saturday with a piece of rental equipment and rent a little mini excavator, and you come in here and you start trying to pull all this stuff down, you're going to spend all day in here. The rental company is going to show up to pick up their piece of equipment, and you will have accomplished nothing. And honestly, the trees on this lot are some of the largest of any project that I've been asked to take on. This is unbelievable, the size of these trees and the damage. But you come in here with a mini excavator on a Saturday and you put in 8 or 10 hours, you're going to get almost nowhere. The rental company's going to show up to pick up their equipment and tell you if you need it again to give them a call. They'll be glad to rent it to you again, because whoever's running the rental department is going to make a killing off of you. They're going to make a lot of money renting you equipment for you to finally get this job done, if you ever get it done. I'm not trying to be a pessimist or anything like that, but sometimes jobs are just a lot more than what people assume they are. And I don't want to go back through this ditch, because climbing up this pine straw, it's easy to fall. But this is a large ditch. Yeah. And a culvert has to go in here before you can get a piece of equipment in here. You're not going to bring any equipment across that ditch. And I know in the video it doesn't show up that great, but more trash. But that ditch is a lot deeper than it looks. It's, I'm going to say 3 feet, 4 feet deep. And you got to get a piece of equipment in here without tearing up the public roadway. The last thing you want to deal with is the county or a city when you've damaged their roadway, because they're going to tell you you got to pay for it. And you're not going to win that argument. Not if you did something wrong. But just look at all this stuff that we've seen in this video. And this is not everything. I haven't covered the whole property that's got to be cleared in this video. Covered the majority of it, but a school bus coming by. But you get the idea just from what you can see in this video. The size of these trees are way beyond anything a mini excavator's gonna be able to tackle. Some of this, yes, you could, but this developer wants everything gone inside of the designated area for the home site. Let me get across this ditch so I can show you from the street view. If I can do this without busting my behind. There's another school bus. Let me just go over here out the way. After this bus passes off, I'll show you what I want you to see. But okay. School bus is gone. Let me walk down here on the road. I'm going to show you. Now I have an app on my phone I use that also helps me track property lines and it follows wherever I am. But you can see this ditch that leads into the main road ditch. That's the property line I was showing you a few minutes ago. You can see the orange marker there from the surveyors. Front corner pin is right there where that marker is. And then this whole area just inside the wood line is where the septic tank, the drain septic field will be. Septic system. I'm dodging cars out here. But, so, you see this ditch. Culvert's got to go in here. Actually, that ditch is more than 3 feet. That's at least 4 feet deep, especially going up the bank on the other side there. All of this, that's at least 4 feet tall. Probably closer to 5. But this that you're seeing right now, this is the road frontage that I was talking about earlier. And everything along this, from here, from this tree line, 50 feet in, is going to stay the way it is right now. Won't touch any of that. The only place any of this will get touched is wherever the driveway enters this property from the roadway. And they did not give me anything showing me where they want the driveway to come in. So at this point, that's just a complete guess for me. There it is. So, see right in there's an orange marker ribbon. That's the survey marker for this front corner here. So from here all the way back down there to where we were across the street from the church. But when you're looking at property like this and you want to clear it, honestly, the best thing to do is to hire a company who is licensed, insured, and brings the correct equipment in and gets this job done. I mean, I don't know very many private individuals that would want to try to attack this on their own, on their days off, especially if they don't have equipment experience. Show you some of these trees. Now, these trees that you're seeing are up by the, they're inside that 50-foot zone that I'm not going to touch, but you get an idea. This is the size of the trees all throughout the area that's got to be cleared. Got a dead tree there, which they said they don't want to touch anything out here. Anything that's on this ditch line is going to stay, and nothing will be cleared until I get 50 feet in. So, and another point too, when you've already plotted out where you're going to put the house and the septic system, you don't want your driveway going across the septic tank or the drain field. And that's where we're at right now, is in this corner. That's all going to go right back down in here. So I don't know what they're going to do about the driveway, because the house is going to be over toward the other side of this front line. But it just kind of gives you an idea of what I'm looking at. So now I got to go back and sit down and calculate the pricing on this job and have a rough idea of what it's going to be. And I don't ever discuss the prices online or with anybody. The only person I will give a price to is my customer for that particular project. There's, some privacy issues, and I don't want to, infringe on somebody's privacy. But if I told you how much I was charging for this job, and you try to compare it to another project that's not the same size, or, like acreage-wise, if it was just a bunch of small brush, you don't need an excavator, and you just need to come in, a tractor or a small skid steer, or a skid steer, I shouldn't say small, but, you can come in with a larger tractor, a skid steer, maybe even a mini excavator if you want to take it on that way. That would be a slower process. But if you want to take on a job like this or excuse me, if you if I told you a dollar amount on this project, and then you had a similar size property, but it was nothing but brush, that you could come in with a tractor and a bush hog and mow it all down, and then do some basic site prep for the foundation, and then bring the house in, those numbers are not going to be anywhere close to each other. And I've seen properties that the vegetation in the woods, the trees, are much thicker than what you're seeing in this, which drives the price up. The more work there is, the higher the price. It takes longer. You're burning a lot of fuel doing these jobs. And I haven't seen a fuel price drop on diesel fuel in a very long time, a couple of years now. It's been pretty stagnant in my area. Anywhere from about $3.50 a gallon to sometimes around $4 a gallon, depending on where you are. But things to consider, when it comes to pricing a job. And if a contract, if you want to use multiple contractors for price quotes and they come in, each one of them's about the same price, there might be some variation in the pricing, but not usually a lot, then you already have an idea of what you're going to spend. Now, I just quoted somebody on a similar project to this, but it's definitely not near as much work. And the whole entire lot was less than half an acre. A lot less trees, a lot less vegetation. The trees were much smaller. A lot less work has to be done on that one. That guy got quotes from, I don't know how many different companies, but all of us came in at about the same price. And when it was said and done, he said, this is going to cost way more than I thought it was going to cost, so I may just try to do it myself. I said, well, I can work with you and help you complete it in phases, but it's hard to cut somebody a good price when you have to keep coming back and forth and moving equipment back and forth. You can't cut as good of a deal breaking up a project of that size. That job's just too small to break it up and cut them a deal. Just moving equipment costs money. And I have a tractor that I do a lot of stuff with, and just moving that thing costs money. The tractor, depending on what attachments I'm running, the trailer, you're looking at around 10,000 pounds. And you burn more fuel when you're pulling 10,000 pounds than if you're not towing anything. Fuel mileage drops, you burn more fuel, your fuel expenses go up, you've got the fuel expenses on the machine itself. And if you have to keep going back and forth on a job at different times, you almost have to increase the price just to cover your costs, the increased cost. Whereas if you start to finish a job, you can do it for a little bit cheaper because you have a little bit less cost involved. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I'll probably do some more videoing and add it into this from another location, but traffic's starting to pick up and people are looking at me like I'm crazy for being out here with a camera filming a piece of property that doesn't belong to me. So, see you soon.